Angie,
Hey, John.
have you ever turned up to a coaching session unprepared?
Oh, I would say not intentionally, but yes.
What happened the last time you ever did that?
Oh my goodness. So there's two things that come to my mind. One is, am I actually prepared for the session itself? And am I protecting my time before the session? I think those things kind of go hand in hand.
So, would you rather turn up to a session fully prepared, or do you think it's fine to show up without any preparation?
Oh no, no. Okay, wait. Now you're talking just silly, because who does not want to be prepared for a coaching session? I do not operate out of Nilly. No.
You'd be surprised. Let's open the clinic. Welcome to the Coaching Clinic with John and Angie.
The show for professional coaches who want to develop their skills and grow their business.
Follow the show on your favorite podcast app.
And join us every Wednesday for new episodes.
Angie, I know that there are coaches out there who do just have sessions that is like, all right, so what would you like to talk about today? And there's no preparation for those sessions. There's no notes kept. There's no real tracking of what the client has been working on. And I can see maybe there are situations where that can fly, but it's never going to be great coaching. So what makes the work before the work important to you? What are the things that you think coaches, including yourself, should definitely be doing before the coaching sessions or between the sessions?
Couple of things. I have a bunch of things actually running through my mind, but since this isn't the Angie show, I first of all feel like right out of the gate, I think energy is important. And I think there are different things that affect energy. It could be what was going on in your world prior to the call, and it could be what was going on in a session prior to the call. So number one, I would say that I do everything in my power not to have back-to-back sessions. I can't close out properly while I'm looking at the clock going, chop, chop, I need to get on to the next call. We have to go. Bye. Very, very bad look for a coach. It can make our clients feel very undervalued, and it could just change the whole outcome of a great session even. So there's that. That's one thing that I would share. You and I've talked about this. Like, it's a little, I don't know, willy-nilly. That just doesn't work for me.
I think there are times where I try my best. I try my best to make sure that there are significant gaps between coaching sessions. And sometimes the world works against you. Sometimes, we were just talking about this before we recorded, but sometimes your Wi-Fi connection drops out and you still owe somebody minutes of that session. It's not their fault that it dropped out. It's not your fault either, but you are the one who's responsible for delivering the session that you said you were going to deliver. So sometimes you can't help but run over time. Technical things get in the way or other things happen. Then you may end up doing things a bit more back to back. But I think that usually tends to be exceptions rather than the rules, because if you're doing it all the time, it's going to be hard to keep track. And even if you're pretty good at making notes whilst you're on the calls, I still think it's going to be tough to keep on top of everything you're doing, and to ultimately distinguish each of your sessions and show up with a clear mind, refreshed energy, all those things we're talking about. So I do think it's important. We can't always manage it 100% of the time, but I think where we can, we absolutely should.
Well, I think it's important to figure out we've been talking a lot about personal sweet spots in terms of that. Last week we were talking about, how many clients can you take on? How many sessions can you really do in a week? So then, to what you said, is a significant amount of time in between. Well, what does that look like for you? For me, it's got to be at least 15 minutes. That gives me time to get up, move, stretch, high knees, get water, use the restroom, and read the notes from the prior session. So we have to keep track of, I think when we start out as coaches, we're very, I have a new client, I am new. let me read the notes, let me be familiar. And then we get a little lazy, we get a little overconfident. And sometimes we tend to go, oh, I know this client, I know what topic, I know people who do this. And I'm not going to say that I never did it, but when I was when I worked for another company, they were like every week adding on. And I learned very quickly that when you have one client versus 30 clients, your time in between becomes much more valuable to not only yourself and your energy, but to the outcomes of your session. So I always give myself time to review, what did we talk about? What were the action steps it's a bad look if your client says, hey, Angie, aren't you going to ask me about that challenge from last week? That is a very bad look for a coach when you forget and the client has to remind you. Just saying.
Yeah. One of the things I really appreciated when I've worked in teams, and even the team that we were on together, is that there would always be notes. And if there wasn't, you'd have to find out why. It would always be nice to know where people were at and what had been talked about and what had been worked on. And it was always really helpful. And I think it's good to have that for ourselves. And I think you're right. Laziness is often one of the reasons why we don't. We like to simplify.
Yeah.
We think we know. Well, I'll say this. There are plenty of people in the world who can sight read a piece of music quite adequately and perform it from sight reading and do a perfectly respectable job. There are plenty of speakers out there who can get up and wing it on the stage and again do a perfectly respectable job. What they can't do from that position is be masterful in what they're doing. What they can't do is really own it and be fully prepared and flexible and have multiple options available to them, because they're having to figure things out as they go. They're not really prepared, or they haven't really got the right headspace to be able to be fully flexible and able to adapt and bend and take on, or even recover things that have come up before, referring to things that have been instances or occasions in people's life that they've been bringing up on their sessions. I do think you lose the ability to be masterful in your coaching if you are not fully prepared for the sessions you show up on.
What's so interesting that you say that, and masterful, I think, is a great term to use. I mean, they say you have to put 10,000 hours into something to become a master at it, regardless of what anybody else says, right? I don't know who came up with that and who they are. I certainly have more than 10,000 hours of coaching in under my belt, probably closer to 15. And that's a lot, but that doesn't mean that I'm great. Maybe I'm worse a coach now. I'm not, but maybe I am, because I am a little bit more lazy, or I'm not as focused as I was. And so something that you said just brought up, and something that clients have said to me over the years, because I'm so in tune with their individual journey, whether it's personal, professional, or both, that you bring up something, say, I remember we talked about X, Y, Z, and I can point to a specific or reference a specific moment in their coaching journey. And at the end of the session, what did you value? What did you love? What really stuck out for you? That always, when I'm able to reference something from not yesterday or the day before, but like months or years ago, that is so impactful for the client, because they really feel, and by the way, if you can reference something from long ago, that really shows that there's an astuteness to your approach, but they appreciate that. They know that you are then dialed in with them and their journey, and they might feel like, this is my goal. I want every one of my clients to feel like they are my only client. I'm not rushing. I'm not saying, hey, listen, I have a hard stop at 3 today, so I have to go. I have another client. They understand it, but I can tell you it doesn't feel good. That's it. They want undivided attention.
Do you remember at the start of the year, I told you what my word for the year was?
Oh, yes. I know. Wait, what was the word? Oh my God. Don't test me. Stop it. Presence, right?
Well done. Yes, absolutely. So I remember yours was no, if I remember rightly, but well done. So yeah, presence. Now to me, preparation, practice, preparation, these are things that allow you to be more fully present with your clients. And I
Yeah.
think that's incredibly powerful.
Hmm.
As you rightly say, being able to pull stuff out from previous sessions or even from like early on in the coaching relationship with people you've been working with a long time is magical to them. It says, you really have been
Yes.
here. I hadn't even thought of that myself. And look, you just pulled a
Right.
rabbit out of the hat. What a
Right.
magician you are.
Right. And listen, and it's funny because I don't think there's anything. I mean, it feels magical. I hate that. I know I make a lot of doctor references, but imagine going into your doctor who's been your doctor for years or for a period of time. And every time they come in, it's like they just met, it's like Groundhog Day. They just met you again for the first time. Now, I know that's a bit of an exaggeration in the coaching world, but think about that. Are you making your clients feel like that to some degree? Well, what's going on this week? Come on, right? Dig a little deeper. Connect with that person beyond the, hey, how are you? How's the week been? Okay, now let's get to the real work. And
Yeah.
the last time we spoke, or I was thinking about something from a previous session where you said X, Y, or Z. Did you give them some type of action step? Like, be aware of what you're presenting within your sessions, because if you don't, oh boy, you may not. Okay, let me try this again. Your client may not recognize the art of you and your like the art of your coaching until you illustrate it to them, until you do reference something, until you do challenge them in a way. They don't appreciate the answers. They don't appreciate well, here's what I think you should do. Because sometimes we do step into like consulting, but when you are able to dig and know where their tough spots are and point to those, that takes real thought, effort, and consideration for that to happen. Otherwise, you're just having, I used to call it the $500 cup of coffee. Nobody wants to have a $500 cup of coffee with me. Or you. They want real results. And part of that is your commitment to their journey and knowing it, understanding it. You're the guide.
I must admit, like my very early days of coaching, I think I was pretty super lazy about making notes and keeping track of things with clients. And until it became a problem, until it became an issue on calls where there was stuff that clients expected me to remember they'd talked about on previous calls and I didn't remember. And there's like
Yeah.
oh, now that not only is embarrassing, it's problematic. You lose rapport. It causes
Yes.
potentially a rift in the client situation. It says to them a bit, oh, I'm not sure you care enough, that you've really been paying attention properly to me. That's very damaging to client relationships and far from advisable. So it might make things easier for you, but it's in the long term, it's not going to help your business and your professional reputation. And so who do you really want to be showing up as a coach? Someone who just sort of scrapes by and does the bare minimum, or somebody who is showing up and committed to being masterful in their craft and doing the best they can, servicing themselves and their clients the very best that they can. Which of those are you committing yourself to?
Yeah. Listen, you can't, I'm going to say this, and there are going to be people that twitch when they hear me say this, but I've experienced coaches that it's just an assembly line. I'm being honest. And they just kind of burner and turn them, and they that's fine. That's their business model and not for me. I don't advise it if you really want to make an actual career out of this, where you build a brand and a reputation around who you are as a coach. With that being said, I also think, like you mentioned, like the note-taking piece. I don't really think that in the beginning, I just love notes to start with, but nobody ever said to me, you should take notes. Although I always did take notes, I don't think I understood the value of having them. Notes are actually a strategic tool for you to use as a coach. It's not just busy work and I think I started taking notes for myself and then later realized that sharing notes, because somebody said, hey, Angie, do you think you could share your notes with me today? And my first thought was no, because it's like saying to the doctor, what did you write down about me? So, but it was also, and it was a lens shift for me that, oh, well, I should share some notes with them, because it's also an illustration. It's something to use at the end of their journey or when they're done with their sessions to say, I want you to go back. Do not, by the way, and this all lends itself to the idea of do not count on your own memory that, oh, I think I know them so well. I'm going to John and I are very close, right? And this personally as well. And he just challenged me on the spot and said, do you remember my word? And I'm like, whoa, wait. So it's nothing personal, but John knows, don't rely on Angie's memory. I have to write everything down. I'm busy, right? There's a lot going on. So just to the point I'm making here is for us, as close as we are and often as we talk and the things that we talk about, even with the closest people in my life, sometimes the details get lost, right? And we forget. So don't rely. That's an illustration right there. Don't rely on your memory because you might get some of the big, the rocks and the pebbles and the sand whole thing. You might remember the rocks, but the pebbles and the sand are really where the work actually is getting done. And I'm going to tell you, you are not going to remember. So, and until I started the practice of keeping notes and sharing notes, I didn't really understand that value and then thought, highlighted, scribble, you don't even want to see what my notes look like. I take separate notes, of course, for the client, but it's a great reflection for both of us to go back and say, how did we start? Where did we begin? What does the journey actually look like? And that's what people love to see because they forget as you're moving through session to session. We forget the details.
I will say we are in an age of AI note takers, and I do use them. I use them with clients, and they provide helpful summaries sometimes of what's been discussed and what's been committed to and all those sorts of things. So
sure.
I think in the very least, we should probably consider those to be a normal SOP for our business. It's something we do as standard.
Absolutely.
Industry standard that you at least have AI note takers. And I will say this, I generally only note things down during a call if they stand out for me. Something stands out, something they said that's significant, I will make a note of that because I don't know if the AI note taker is going to pick that up or not, or underline it in the way that I've spotted something that I think could be significant. I might want to explore it. I'm going to make a note of that and add that in. That's for my notes. The AI notes I tend to share with the client. Like you can see exactly what. It's basically just repeating back what we've talked about in the meeting. And I think that's
in a much more
organized
organized way, by the way. That's the beauty of AI. I started using AI only within the last, say, 6 months for note taking to share with client. And the beauty is, guess what? I get to check it and add to it or subtract from it if I need to, if I can, and then before I send it, I still have control. But I will say that AI has a magnificent way of keeping things orderly. Because here's the thing, think about your sessions. Sometimes they volley back and forth and you might start talking about a topic and then it goes away, we go to something else and then that other topic comes back. And the notes that we take are going to reflect the course of the session itself. It's a pain to go back and say, okay, now let me think about this. My notes, it doesn't matter because I understand my shorthand. I understand why I have circles around things or stars. Oh, and I still do that. I know people are like, are you out of your mind? I'm like, this is my thing, right? This works for me. And the client still gets an overview or high level overview of what we discussed, what their action steps are. They'll say, Angie, can you send me the action steps? Yeah, they're already there. And AI takes care of that for me. So whoopoo, it's made our lives as coaches, I think, much easier. But don't get lazy about connecting with your people.
Right. I want to be as fully present with people as I can at the call. So I don't generally try and take notes during the call. I want to be fully listening, fully paying attention to them. That's why I say I make notes if something really stands out, or something I think, all right, I feel like I need to make a note of that. Otherwise, I do rely somewhat on the note taker now for doing that. Mm-hmm. But it does help me. It does free me up to be, I think, more fully present on my coaching calls. But here's a question for you. How do you feel about clients having access to recordings of their coaching calls? Do you think that's a good thing or not a good thing? Should clients go back and listen to coaching calls? I have a take on it, but I'm curious for yours first.
I don't think I'm a super fan of it. Only, I don't know. I think it's taking those raw moments, and I guess there's benefit. I mean, if I'm being honest, yes, they can hear themselves. But I have to be honest, I think that when I've had that experience, because I did work for a company where each and every call was recorded and they were, I feel like a recording. This call may be recorded for blah, 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 right? But haha. And it's interesting because it was utilized at the time more to protect me as a coach or protect the coaches. Like, she said this to me, and then they go back and listen and go, no, that's not what he or she said. But I think for people to go back and listen, I don't know if they're focusing on the answers. I haven't had great experience with that as a tool.
Yeah. So when you're managing a coaching team, to me, it makes sense that you would want to ideally hear examples of coaches on the calls to see how they're coaching and to get that, and to see if there's some things that they might need a little coaching and guidance on as well to help things be more uniformly delivered for your customers.
Correct.
So in the team, it makes perfect sense to me. Working for yourself, it probably makes sense if you have a business coach or a coaching business coach to have them look at a few of your sessions and sit with you and help you improve on them. I don't see any reason why that wouldn't be beneficial for you, but probably not to do all of them, because I think you can always get into this thing with your sessions where they already would record one session that went great, record a session that didn't go so great, and get feedback on those so you can see what you're doing really well and you can see where there's room to pull things up. You will always find things you could have said differently, or you might pick up something you didn't pick up before when you were live on the call, and you might end up beating yourself up there. So there's good and bad. But as far as clients are concerned, I think I aim for transformation on coaching calls. I want them to come off, I want them to feel great. I want them to feel prepared, that they know what they're going to do. They feel great about doing it.
Yeah.
They have their way forward. Anything they've been feeling stuck around or is kind of an issue for them, that we've at least started to deal with if we haven't dealt with it completely. I'm aiming for transformation. And so if they're going back into a recording, I don't give them the recordings, but if they were to go back into an audio recording of the session, they're going to potentially reassociate themselves back into that old state to go and do that. Yeah. And that's not something I really want them to do. I want them to follow on from where they are now. I can appreciate if there's been something that was just gold for them in a session and they want to go back and replay that. Yeah, sure. But there's also stuff that may not be so gold that could actually tip the scales in the other direction. Yeah. Which is not necessarily what you want. So I have mixed feelings about it.
I think what you're saying is true, though. Like, I think that maybe having or listening to a recording is great for a coach to learn themselves, like, everything from tonality, energy, deeper questions. Oh, I missed an opportunity, something like that. But I think that AI, I have to say this, now challenges the depths to which we can share information with a client. It's changed, I should say. I don't even think that I could, in notes that I would share with a client, be as in depth as AI is. So I'm not going to mess with it. I'm leaving it alone. If they have that, they certainly don't need a recording, if you will, or a video recording, however you choose to coach. Because to me, I think it's just more of a distraction hearing it that way. But if you're reading something, it's like, oh, I have to say this. One of the things that I do at the second to last session with a client is I challenge them, and I do it myself as well. I say, this is what you and I are doing. You're going to go back to the very beginning and you're going to read any notes. And I encourage them to take their own notes, because something, like you said, might be gold for them that isn't gold for me. I can't decide that. So go back and read the notes. And then I want you to come into our next session with a really high level, like what are the biggest growth spaces that you've experienced that you now see? And what do you think challenges are? New, old, expanded? I have more challenges than I did before because I have a higher level of awareness and clarity, maybe. But regardless of how I throw it out there to them and make the suggestion and do the practice, every single time they come back to that final session, I go, so how was that experience? That's always the question, because I look at it and it's a story. They are reading it like a story of them. you're not going to get that. If I give somebody like, here's all the 15, 30, 100 videos of you and us or recordings, it isn't going to have the same impact as sitting there and reading the story of their journey. It is so impactful for them. So there you go, right? Throw it out there and give them that gift, because that's why they're doing it. It's the reminder, and it's very, like you said, I think it has some like magical properties to it, because I don't think they expect to have that experience.
I'd say early on as well, one of the reasons why I think I struggled to renew clients was because we didn't really have that. And I do think it was a problem because it was just week to week. So all the progress and transformation they were making was normalized by the next time that we spoke. And so their baseline of normal or what they could do just kept rising. And they weren't necessarily attributing that to the coaching sessions because we hadn't plotted out or reviewed the journey that I've been taking.
Right.
But I'll say this, don't you just hate it when you say something on a call and a client says to you, that was amazing. What did you just say?
If you guys could.
What did I just say? I don't know. What did I just say?
Oh my God. Listen, I don't know. I should make a whole recording out of that, because honestly, I go, wait, what did I say? And it's not because I'm talking so much I can't remember, but I'm like, wait, what? I'm so in the moment that I'm sorry, I don't know. And I just said this last week, but it will be in the notes. You have to find it in the notes because I can't remember. I don't know. I don't know what I just said. Can you tell me what was I talking about? And it's not because I'm not present. It's because I am present. I'm not worrying about what I'm saying. I'm just saying it. And yeah, somebody just stopped me last week and said, wait, what did you say? And I go, I don't know. What did I say? I don't know.
That's the worst. I think we all do it.
Yeah.
That maybe is a case for recording sessions. I don't know, but it is a pain because I can never remember what did I just say to you 2 seconds ago.
Yes.
I have no idea. And even if I tried to say it again, I won't say it the same way.
No.
So it might not
Exactly.
have quite the same impact. Yeah.
Sorry, I
incredible.
speak organically, right? This isn't a practiced interaction, if you will. So
I hope today that we've at least made the case for being prepared, having the notes,
yes.
and how that can actually have a very positive impact on your coaching relationships, probably on your renewal rates and all those good things as well that you want for a successful business. And we'll come back with some more cool stuff like this on another episode very soon. So stay tuned.
Definitely.
We'll be back before you know.
Yes, we will. Do you have a question for the coaching clinic?
Reach out on LinkedIn to connect with Angie and John.
Leave us a voicemail or video message and we will feature you on the show.
You can also leave up to 90-second voicemail for free on www.speakpipe.com/the Coaching Clinic podcast.
We'd love to hear from you.
See you next time.
Bye for now.